Willkommen, bienvenue, and welcome back to Let's Learn the Electric Bass with Lyte. Today, we're going to be working on, well, shifting our fretting hand. We've done it in a couple of previous episodes, but we didn't really discuss how it should be done in context, because every time we had done it, it was basically going, and then... but they're not really together. They're not part of a line. We weren't really trying to connect them. Well, going forward, we might very well need to be going along playing something and need to move our hand further down the neck. And this goes towards the ultimate goal of knowing exactly where every fret is on every string without looking. I am not there. I am nowhere close to there, but it's something we need to work towards. So for shifting, I don't know all the details. So today, we're going to do some science. We need to experiment. We need to see what things work, which things don't. And we're going to try to figure out some exercises to make us better at doing it. So what is shifting? Well, it's going from a note to another note with your hand in a different position. I know that's very simple, but you need to explain it very clearly regarding what you mean. Now, whether or not the next note is using the same finger or not, it's still a shift. And we should probably practice both types. And it doesn't even necessarily need to be on the same string. Now you hear how much space there was between, and there's a lot of space in there. And well, you don't really want that in certain situations. Certain situations, you want it to be as close together as possible, and potentially with almost no space at all, like only the space of the attack itself. Now I can't do that for that interval right now. But I think it would be an honorable goal to try to get there, such that you can go from anywhere to anywhere in the space of an attack. Such that you're here as long as possible, and then suddenly you're somewhere else. So how do we get there? Well, I think the first step is to figure out what you do with your finger that is playing the first note. So option number one, leave the string. So let's say we're just trying to go a minor third. We're just going that's as far as we're going. Not very far at all. You can do that without shifting. But there might be situations in which you might want to shift. So we need to be able to go like so. So the first option is to lift your finger off the string. Low on that. Now you don't really get the fret noise in between, except when you don't lift it up high enough. But if you're not careful, you get the open string ringing when you let go. Now, if you're fast enough, that might not be a problem. Maybe. But there is one clear difficulty. When lifting your finger off the string is kinesthetically knowing where the string is when you get to where you're going. So Now, you can kind of follow the other strings with the rest of your finger, but then you get fret noise. So honestly, you really should get completely off of the string and hope you know the angle of your neck. Okay? So that's an option. You don't get much fret noise. You might get an open string in the middle, and you might lose track of where you are. So, potential downsides, but we might be able to ameliorate them a bit. Next option is having your finger just lightly across the string without pressing. So this one, lots of fret noise. Nothing but fret noise in between. Now, I don't know if you can hear that, because I don't have this super loud, but now, it still seems okay. The fret noise might be an aesthetic choice that you want to make. That you want that fret noise, because certain acoustic guitar players particularly, that fret noise is part of the tune, and if you don't have it, it just sounds weird. But if you don't like fret noise, I don't really like fret noise, we'll need another option. Now, it might be possible to partially depress the string, but you get the same fret noise as not depressing it at all. There might be a problem if you somehow articulate before you arrive, but I don't think that's going to be much of an issue because we want to eliminate that space in the middle anyway. But you'll almost never get rid of that fret noise. Even if it's super fast, it's still... So the last option is to leave your finger depressed. Now, I'm looking at the frets such that I can see where I'm going, but you get the distinct advantage in this one of being able to hear when you've arrived. So you can practice it slowly. All of these others, you can practice it slowly. But you have to look, because you don't know if you're right. Whereas if you glissando, fancy Italian word for it, you get to hear it as you're going, and you can learn what the intervals sound like. And once you have memorized the intervals, you'll know when you've done it correctly. And you link the feeling with the sound. But there is one problem. You've got sound that whole time. You know how I said I don't really like fret noise? Well, I don't like scooping every note either. So the goal is to get them fast enough to get rid of the slide just in the time of you plucking. That was okay. I haven't seriously worked on this yet, but already... Whoops, too far. We're already getting something kind of close to what I mean, where you don't have the gliss. But you also don't have that daylight of going... Now, of course, those other methods work just as well if you get it that fast. Because if you can hide... You can hide the fret noise just as well. But you have the advantage of being able to do this slowly and work towards it. So you don't have to do that right away. You can just be like... Now, I chose the minor third because I'm fairly decent at hearing it, but I could use a little more practice. And it's not too big. If you start with, say, the perfect fifth, I mean, that's a long way. So you say you want to end up here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's a long way. The long way, and to get that fast and accurate, that's going to take some time. So that reveals to us a fairly decent way of going about practicing this. Start with a nice small interval, say a minor second. Work it up and down. Until you can get it nice and legato back and forth. And do it on other fingers. If you only learn to do it with your first finger, when it comes time to do it with your second, you won't be able to because you don't have the memory, whether muscle or otherwise. And you won't have developed what you need on your fingertips to be able to do it properly. And it's very easy to leave out your third and fourth fingers. Don't. Practice them all such that they are all your friends. People yell about their pinky being worthless. You're the reason your pinky is worthless. It can do the work. You just need to give it a chance. And then once you've got the minor second going really well all up and down the fingerboard, let's go for a major second. And then you go back to the minor third. And remember, take it as slow as you need to get it accurate and with a good tone. Remember your tone. I've been forgetting the past 2 episodes, and it was really inconsistent. So do it as slow as you need, and then work up the speed. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be super fast. It takes time and patience. Because your hand will start to hurt. It'll start getting things like this, where you can see where I fret with this hand, because I don't have resistances built up yet. I don't like calling them calluses necessarily. It sounds cooler if they're resistances. String resistance, fire resistance, cold resistance. But then you just keep making larger and larger intervals until you can go from anywhere to anywhere in the space of a pluck. Now, that's all there is for this episode. Just keep working towards that. Keep memorizing those intervals, what they sound like, what they look like, their names. And then next time, we're going to talk about more of the science of sound itself. We're going to revisit the overtone series and talk about... Yeah, it's kind of hard to hear on that string. Why they are what they are, and how they lead to the intervals that we've learned. Because yes, that's where our intervals come from. Not just the octave, but the fifths, the fourths, the thirds, even the seconds. All of them are from that overtone series. More or less. We'll get into the details next time, but this time, get whatever it is that you're learning and do some shifting. Even if you're not on a string instrument. Where it is something like this, if you're on the piano, work towards not having to look at it. If you're playing the saxophone, generally you don't look at the saxophone, but there might be some people who need to for the pinky keys. If you're a vocalist, having to shift between registers can be a mighty pain. And so you need to practice it to make it nice and smooth and know what it feels like to go from wherever you are to wherever you need to go. Now, I'm a terrible vocalist, so do not take that as an indication of what you should sound like. It's just a little treat for anybody who watches to the end. Either way, I will see you in the next episode of Let's Learn the Electric Bass with Lyte.